Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
Time once again for another installment of the world famous Outlaws and Gunslingers podcast, coming fresh, hot off of our most sadistic episode that we've ever done. I think we've done a lot.
That dude was crazy.
We've done a lot of stuff on some weird people, but or some psychos. But this guy, moving out of that into something with so many killings, or from something with so many killings into something that has absolutely not one death, but plays an important role in gang activity slash sets the tone for the 40s and 50s gang stuff, and which we will be covering the next few episodes, mainly California gangs for now until we move into the later part of the decade with the uprising of the New York squads and Chicago, Midwest, all that kind of stuff. So here we are, moving in the gang world, pre 1970s gang worlds. We got a lot of gang stuff to go already.
Yeah, the 50s and 60s, 40s, 50s, 60s. Get those little punk bands.
Little punk bands.
Those little punk gangs. I'm sure there's not a lot of stories about those little high school guys when they first get their license.
But before we get to that, we are going to cover the world famous.
Wait, was Outsiders considered greasers?
No. Yes.
Were they?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. And Deuce is Wild, which you still haven't seen.
What, the show?
Shame. The movie, Deuce is Wild.
No, the movie is Deuces Wild. Isn't it called Deuces Wild or... Oh, it's Deuces. With James Franco.
No, it's called The Deuce.
The Deuce.
Moving on from that, we're going to cover the Zoot Suit Riots of the 1940... I believe it was 43.
Throw back a bottle of beer. Zoot Suit Riot. Throw a comb through my cool black hair.
As usual, before we get into the actual riots, we'll give you a little bit of background on what led up to it and the current racial situation in California due to Mexicans being immigrated to work the border states after the war and all that good stuff. So,
Right.
Obviously, California was originally part of Mexico before becoming part of the United States. Everybody knows that, right? Due to this history, there's always been a large Latino population in California, right? During the early 20th century, many New Mexicans immigrated for work to the U.S. border states with needed workers such as Texas, Arizona, and, coincidentally, California. They were recruited by farmers for work on the large farms and also worked throughout those states in non-agricultural jobs.
Right, anything to put their hands on.
Right.
They'll get it.
They'll do it.
Right. During the Great Depression in the 1930s, the United States deported between 500,000 and 2 million people of Mexican descent. Well, did they say up to 2 million? But no less than 5,000.
Between, some varies figure. Some figures vary.
Right. That is
Just like the Holocaust is between 2 million and 6 million. So,
right. Anyway, they deported between 500,000 and 2 million people of Mexican descent, including the illegal expulsion of up to 1.2 million United States citizens.
they were like, this is our chance to get rid of them all.
Right.
Let's just deport, round them up.
Wow. Wait. So that's including that. So it's got to be at least 1 million then.
Up to 1.2 million, so.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
Come on. In order to reduce demands on limited American economic resources, they're like, you guys got to go.
In order to reduce demands on limited American economic resources by deporting Americans.
Well, they came from Mexico.
Legal expulsions of U.S. citizens. They're citizens.
Yeah, they became citizens. Yeah.
No, it's probably people that were born here, too.
They were Mexican.
Like anybody that was Mexican, we're rounding you up and we're putting you back to Mexico you go.
Don't worry. Don't feel like you're being isolated. And about, 30 years from now, we're going to do the same thing to the Chinese or the Asian people.
30 years. This is in the 30s.
When did they do that?
During World War II.
World War II, yeah. So in about 15 years, 10 years from now.
Yeah, but they didn't deport them. They just put them in camps.
Same thing.
What would you rather do? Be deported to be free in another country or be in an internment camp?
Well, it depends on how rich or poor I was. In a camp, I'm going to get fed twice a day.
3 times a day, I would hope.
All right. and have at least a blanket and a pillow.
3 hots and a cot.
Right. Anyway, by the late 1930s, about 3 million Mexican Americans resided in the United States. L.A. had the highest concentration of ethnic Mexicans outside of Mexico.
Well, yeah, I mean, probably still like that, huh? Well, I don't know, San Diego,
L.A., right?
Job discrimination in L.A. forced minorities to work for below poverty level wages. I mean, coming here illegal, man. The Los Angeles newspapers described Mexicans with racially inflammatory propaganda, suggesting a problem with juvenile delinquency. So right here, right off the bat, we already got the media. Look at these little thugs walking around here, and the kids are nothing but problem, and
Right.
These factors caused much racial tension between Mexican immigrants and those of Mexican descent, between them and the European Americans.
I mean,
Europeanicans.
Immigration or illegal crossing of the borders. Usually, those people are. I mean, even today.
Yeah, but what was the immigration rules back then?
I think it was.
Could you just come here and be like,
well,
I want to apply but still live here?
Oh, in the 40s, you think about how much open borderland it was to come across. So, can't think there was too much immigration policy, right?
Well, that was not too far off from.
You had your major ports in Tijuana.
It's not too far off from early 1900s when people were coming by the boatload over to New York. None of those people.
I'm sure
they all came here and then got citizenship. So I'm sure it's the same thing here, huh?
Well, I don't know. It's something we have to look into.
I guess so.
During this time, L.A. was going through an expansion. Of course they were. The city planners did not plan the expansion very well.
Hey, it's L.A. after all. Nothing has changed in 100 years.
Seemed like that trend continued as it caused disruptions in communal sites, family patterns of social interactions. I mean, they're like, what is going on here? Nothing is functional, guys. Nothing's working.
Well, here's one stupid thing they're about to do.
One major decision that was made was to put a naval school for the Naval Reserve Armory in the Chavez Ravine. Chavez or Chavez?
Obviously Chavez.
Chavez. They wanted to put a Naval Reserve Armory in the Chavez Ravine, which was primarily a Mexican-American area. This would later be a hot spot for the encounters between the Zoot Suiters and sailors. So you get a bunch of sailors.
Drunken sailors at that. Coming around.
You know how those mouths are.
You know it, right?
Oh, you got a mouth like a drunken sailor.
Drunken sailor. Lalo Guerrero became known as the father of Chicano music as the young people adopted a music language and dress of their own. Young men wore zoot suits, a flamboyant long jacket with baggy pegged pants, sometimes accessorized with a pork pie hat, a long watch chain, and shoes with thick soles.
Right.
They called themselves Pachucos. In the early 1940s, arrests of Mexican-American youth and negative stories in the L.A. Times fueled a perception that those Pachuco gangs were delinquents who were a threat to the broader community. The funny thing is, L.A. Times is now like this big liberal stand up for the minorities and all this shit, but they're the main ones that caused what we're gonna see about. So
of course they were.
I mean,
jeez,
and people still trust the media.
Man, well, it was summer. The year was 1942. The Sleepy Lagoon murder case made national news.
National Lagoon news. Not only did it make a national news, it made the National Lagoon scene.
Every
news.
lagoon in the country was popping this on at noon.
This was welcome to Lagoon Nightly.
And now for the lagoons across America. Anyhow, summer of 1942, the Sleepy Lagoon murder case made national news. 9 teenage members of the 38th Street Gang were accused of murdering a civilian man named Jose Diaz in an abandoned... Sorry, guys, I'm going to do that all the time. In an abandoned quarry pit. The morning of August 2nd, 1942, Jose Gallardo Diaz... Gallardo?
In my Lamborghini Gallardo.
Jose Gallardo Diaz was found unconscious and later died in the hospital. The autopsy revealed that Diaz was intoxicated and had blunt head... what are you going to do, right? Blunt head trauma as well as multiple stab wounds. Ooh, well, which one did it? Do you think the head trauma did it? And then later on, the stab wounds? If the head trauma didn't? Well, ultimately, they could not determine the cause of death.
I'd say it's a combination of both.
Right.
Despite the unclear cause of death, 20-year-old Henry Leyvas and 24 members of what the media termed the 38 Street Gang were arrested for allegedly murdering Diaz.
All 38 of them?
38
I mean,
Street.
24 of them?
24 were arrested. They suspected that rival Pachuco gang fights were the cause of Diaz's death. In response to the alleged murder, the media began a campaign calling for action against Zoot Suiters.
Oh.
Look at the media. This whole thing you guys are going to see was specifically fueled by the media.
By the media.
If the media had never butted their nose in, none of this would ever happen.
Right. There was a war going on in L.A. back in 1943.
And the media, look at the media, is clearly
Right.
anti-color anything.
Right. Anti-Mexican, black, Chinese.
Sad.
Wow. 10th of August, police conducted a roundup of 600 Latinos who were charged with suspicion of assault, armed robbery, and related offenses. 175 were eventually held for various crimes. Wow. Due to this roundup of Zoot Suiters, many families in the community began putting curfews in place to protect those that they cared about from the increasing police presence. I mean, this is like 1960s Detroit. Or Chicago, 1960s, freaking New York.
Self-imposed family curfews, I guess. I mean,
Right. Self-imposed. Like, you guys, no more street lights. This is dinner time, 5 o'clock, boys. No later.
you better be home before those streetlights come on.
Not anymore. Gotta do that. Gotta get them home before that now.
Yeah, it's true. Any spot of darkness.
Right.
Well, the resulting criminal trial is now generally viewed as lacking in the fundamental requirements of due process. 17 Latino youths were indicted on the murder charges and placed on trial. 17.
Wow. Like, I mean,
The courtroom was small, and during the trial, the defendants were not allowed to sit near or communicate with their attorneys. What?
Well, wow. Illegal or not? Isn't there still, like, a rule of law?
You have to be able to communicate with your attorney.
Right.
Well, none of those charged were permitted to change their clothes during the trial by order of Judge Frick at the request of the district attorney on the grounds that the jury should see the defendants in the zoot suits. They were obviously worn only by hoodlums. So they made them wear zoot suits during the trial.
Right. Say, this is what these guys are out there wearing, so you know they know each other and fellow Zoot Suiters.
Who said these 38th Street Gang members were wearing zoot suits in the first place?
Well, these guys were, obviously.
Were they, though? Or did they give them a bunch of zoot suits and was like, you're wearing this for the trial?
Put these on.
Right. Like, these doesn't look like...
Those your clothes, boy? No.
No. I don't know. You're the cop. You figure it out.
Who's driving? No.
No. Iconic. You got an injury on your head? No.
No.
He's like spit.
Yeah.
No.
Your intestines are falling out. He's like, no. No, good. Every time my name was mentioned by a witness or the district attorney, regardless of how damning the statement was, the named defendant was required to stand up. Judge Frick also permitted the chief of the Foreign Relations
Every time
Bureau.
my name was mentioned by a witness or the DA, regardless how damning. Oh.
Right, the guy had to stand up.
So they're just like
Right, just putting these guys on the spot.
making sure the jury knows exactly what they look like and what, yeah.
And these weren't a jury of their peers either.
Right, you know, there were no Mexicans on that jury.
Judge Frick also permitted the chief of the Foreign Relations Bureau of the LA. What the hell?
What is
Come
all
on,
these
guys.
The FRBLASO.
Jeez, O.P.
Farblaso. The Farblaso.
Judge Frick also permitted the chief of the Foreign Relations Bureau of the Los Angeles Sheriff's Office, E. Duran Arias, to testify as an expert witness.
Ooh, an expert.
And he was to testify that Mexicans as a community had a bloodthirst and a biological predisposition to crime and killing.
Wow.
Citing the culture of human sacrifice practiced by their Aztec ancestors.
Oh.
He's saying these guys, you thought the Sioux and those guys were savages? No.
The Sleepy Lagoon Defense Committee, their own committee there, was a community organization made up of Los Angeles community members and activists who came together to support the defendants. Oh, good for them. Nice. The SLDC was also known as the Citizens Committee for the Defense of Mexican American Youth. That's a tongueful. The committee was labeled a Communist Front organization by the California State Legislature's Joint Fact-Finding Committee on Un-American Activities, chaired by Jack Tenney. Gosh, these dudes just go freaking to any length to label these guys as
anything they can.
Right. Jeez. How is this? How is this even getting away? It's the freaking 40s. I mean, geez.
Un-American Activities, a committee.
I mean, I guess the 40s. I can't say, oh, it's the 40s. Why is this? Obviously, we know why it's happening. Wow. America's always been a fucking corrupt place. Always.
That's ridiculous. I knew I never liked California.
I know, dude. California's trash.
Right.
Always has been.
Right. Actor Anthony Quinn writes that he began raising money for the defense after his mother urged him to remember the eggs they had been given.
So is Anthony Quinn a white dude? He's going to be the white savior in this situation here?
Very possible. His mother told him to remember the eggs that had been given by a mother of one of the accused defendants during time of poverty.
Okay.
He writes of enlisting the help of Orson Welles.
Welles,
and
nice.
Eleanor Roosevelt. Wow, he's getting some big ballers up in here. And being branded a communist as a result.
Yeah, he wrote to them and listened to the help. I don't think either of them helped.
No.
Especially Roosevelt.
All right, like, we can't do that, you commie.
She was the president's wife at the time. She wasn't helping on that shit. Come on, let's face it. FDR was probably one of the most racist guys that ever lived.
Most likely, and Eleanor is pretty much running the show anyway.
Plus, she was his cousin.
Yeah. Anyway, they called Anthony Quinn a communist. You communists, you. Anyway, they call him a communist, which ultimately, almost costed him his career. He was like, man, I almost lost my career. Some SLDC. Dang, man, like, why has everything got to be abbreviated in letters? LGBTQ plus 3. Is that what it is now, or something like that? Some SLDC members included Alice McGrath, Josephina Fierro. Oh, damn, that's a hell of a name. Josephina Fierro de Bright. Josefa Fierro. Maria Alves. Louisa Moreno.
Hey!
Oh! Louisa Moreno.
Oh, it's Moretti. Not a Moreno. I thought that was my cousin, huh?
Dorothy Healy. LaRue McCormick.
Dorothy Healy. I've heard that name before.
Right. I wonder if LaRue McCormick is the McCormick Spices now. Lupe Levas. Henry Levas. Doc Johnson. Nice.
Right, Doc.
Oh, Frank Lopez was there. Bert Corona was there.
Oh, jeez.
Brought a virus with him. And Gray Bemis.
whatever, Bemis.
Whatever, Bemis. Gray Bemis. Wow.
Gray Bemis.
That's like a baseball name.
Right. The SLDC's mission was to mount a civil rights crusade so that these 12 Mexican-American defendants could have an unbiased trial. The SLDC utilized their contacts with influential community members to promote their cause and for fundraising purposes to be able to support their cause.
Oh.
After Judge Frick's verdict in January, the Mexican-American youths were imprisoned without evidence and because they were Mexican and dangerous.
Oh. Although there's not very much evidence here, but there's one fact that remains. You're Mexican.
You're Mexican, therefore you're dangerous.
Very dangerous. 20 years.
Right.
The Mexican-American community was outraged.
Yes, I would be too.
Several attorneys challenged Judge Frick's decisions. George Shibley, Robert Kenney, Clore Ware, Ben Margolis, John McTurnan, Carrie McWilliams, and several others. Together they
I'd be
hope.
pissed if I was several others, dude. I hate when they do that.
It's like those guys.
You guys named 13 people and several others. Like, just go on and name the other 13 then.
Jeez. Together they hope to remind the European American society that minorities have the right to testify in court and have impartial jury trials.
I mean, dude, they had more fair trials in the West states. Like, what the hell?
Right. McWilliams noted that a few months earlier, over 120,000 Japanese Americans were detained.
Yeah, you got to remember, this is right in the middle of World War II right now,
right.
and this is when, we talked about this earlier.
All right. So these 120, I think it was more than 120,000 though.
Well,
Japanese Americans, they were detained and interned in detention camps.
120,000 between 120,000 and 600,000. Right.
And later argued that there were common links between the Japanese American internment and the anti-Mexican response in the Sleepy Lagoon case. I mean, clearly. From 1943 through 1944, The state anti-communist Tenney Committee
This Tenney guy, man.
subpoenaed and investigated the members of the Defense Committee in an attempt. Jeez. He's like, expose these guys as communists. They have communist ties.
Dude, these guys, the government's so paranoid of communist ties all throughout.
So was Mexico labeled actually a communist country back then?
They might have been. I don't think so. Communist. They were definitely under dictatorship.
Right, of somebody. Spain, right?
No, Mexico.
Oh, when Mexico get
Mexico was a state. Mexican Independence Day is May 5th.
May 5th of what year?
1800s. Alamo. When was that?
Oh, that wasn't there.
Well, the Alamo wasn't the independence, but it was around the same war.
Right.
So,
Right.
Well, in October 1944, the State Court of Appeals unanimously decided the evidence was not sufficient to sustain a guilty verdict. It reversed the 12 defendants' convictions in People v. Zamora 66 Cal.App.2D166.
Right.
The appeals court also criticized the trial judge for his bias and mishandling of the case. You think?
You think that they should be able to try judges if they knowingly made a decision?
I'm pretty sure they could be expelled from the bench.
Right, and get disbarred?
Yeah.
Nice.
Idiots. Well, regarding this case, Eduardo Obregón Pagan wrote, many Angelinos saw the death of Jose Diaz as a tragedy that resulted from a larger pattern of lawlessness and rebellion among Mexican-American youths, discerned through their self-conscious fashioning of difference, and increasingly called for stronger measures to crack down on juvenile delinquency. So you got the news and pretty much the whole entire population that's not Mexican rallying against these guys and saying,
Right.
get them out of here, even though they were here first.
Right. I mean,
This land literally used to be Mexico, so
Right.
But hey, get them out of here anyways.
right. With the entry of the United States into World War II in December of 1941, following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the nation had to deal with restrictions of rationing and the prospects of conscription.
Yes, sir.
March 1942, the War Production Board regulated the manufacture of men's suits and all clothing that contained wool. To achieve a 26% cutback in the use of fabrics, the WPB issued regulations for the manufacture of what Esquire magazine called streamlined suits by Uncle Sam.
Could you imagine
Yeah,
that?
paper suits.
We've been in a 20-year war in Afghanistan, and how they did in World War II, like they literally
Right.
cut back on
Everything.
everything, iron, everything,
Everything.
dude, shut down everything just to produce stuff for the war. Our economy couldn't handle that nowadays.
Pretty sure the
Every car factory in Michigan was shut down to make
right.
tanks and jeeps and all that, enemy weapons and all that stuff,
I think
dude.
the airport, MBS airport, was turned into like a
Was MBS there in 1940s?
or something. Whatever was there was a weapons manufacturer.
Wouldn't surprise me. Dow probably was making stuff for him too.
Right.
Yeah, man. Our economy couldn't handle that nowadays. You're shutting down everything to make stuff for the war. That's why we have these multi-billion-dollar war budgets now. They do it on their own.
Right.
Take the good with the bad.
I guess.
The regulations effectively forbade the manufacture of the wide-cut zoot suits and full women's skirts or dresses.
Wow.
Most legitimate tailoring companies seized the manufacture or advertised any suits that fell outside the War Production Board's guidelines.
Huh.
But the demand for zoot suits did not decline. A network of bootleg tailors. We got a whole.
Obviously.
We're gonna have to do a whole series on bootleg and tailors.
Zoot suit bootleggers.
They were based in L.A. and New York. They continued to produce the garments. Youths also continued to wear clothes which they already owned.
Of
Of
course.
course. What are you gonna give them up?
Right.
Wait, it's just like the guns.
Can't buy these no more.
We'll buy back your zoot suits.
We got a zoot suit buyback. Oh, jeez. Meanwhile, American soldiers, sailors, and Marines from across the country went to L.A. in large numbers as part of the war effort. They were given leave while waiting to be shipped out to the Pacific Theater.
Oh, these guys are like, hey, let's go fight those Japs.
Right. Servicemen and Zoot Suiters in L.A. were both immediately identifiable by their dress
I would
codes.
assume, obviously.
Some servicemen and others in the community felt that the continued wearing of Zoot Suits represented the youth's public flouting of rationing regulations.
So now the soldiers are pissed off, but
Look at these guys.
they're not doing anything for their country. And
Right. They come over here illegally. They run around our streets and steal and holler and stuff in the middle of the night.
using all of our goods to manufacture those stupid looking suits.
And with probably 80% of them are years old.
Right.
Jeez. Officials began to cast wearing of the zoot suits in moral terms and associated it with the commission of petty crime,
Jeez.
violence, and the snubbing of national wartime rules. Wow.
Yeah, so you know how many newspaper articles back in the day were probably like,
Say something. See
right,
something.
see
Say something.
Say something. Report your fellow.
Report your fellow Zoot Suiters.
Report the Mexican Americans walking around with a zoot. If you see a zoot suit, call police immediately. Do not approach.
Do not approach.
Subject may be dangerous. Jeez. In 1943, many servicemen resented the sight of young Latinos wearing zoot suits after clothing restrictions had been published, especially as most came from the areas of country with little experience or knowledge of Mexican-American culture.
Oh, jeez.
Right.
They're like, look at these guys. They just don't care. They're going out and using
They're like,
material we don't have. Like, no, sir, I had this jacket for 15 years.
Big old thing of dip in their mouth. What the hell is this?
Look at these guys.
Non-American loving son of a bitch.
They're not patriots.
Well, we should form our own party called Patriot Party. Make agriculture great again. While Mexican Americans were overrepresented in the armed forces, they were not common and respected enough to diffuse these tensions.
Right.
They were overrepresented? What does that mean? Well, Mexican Americans were overrepresented in the armed forces. How do you overrepresented in something?
Dang, so there was a lot of Mexican Americans in the army. No, they're like, we expected way less of you guys to come in. There's a lot of you guys.
They're like turning them away, but this is too much.
This is
Can't
too
handle this.
much.
They're wearing zoot suit fatigues and shit. That's hilarious.
Nice.
I guess due to maybe it didn't do. I guess it didn't go into it. But I'm assuming by like population size.
I mean, that wouldn't be good.
The percentage of whites who joined the army, was like.
I mean, if you're off in Japan or something fighting and it's early morning and you're about to go to battle and
I'm sure not one people that were in the same platoon with Mexicans, blacks, and whites, they weren't like, oh, this guy's Mexican, I don't trust him. Maybe there were some.
Not even that. No, the enemy would smell the tortillas early in the morning. They'd be like, oh, shit.
I don't think they had to.
Get ready for war.
I mean, I guess they did have tortillas. Have you seen some of well, actually, not back then. Have you seen Have you seen the MREs from back in the World War II?
Oh, man. Yes.
There's people on the internet that eat them.
Like all the time.
Like from 1941. They'll open them up, and they all came with cigarettes and stuff. And this one dude, it's Chesterfields that always came with. And he's
Does he smoke cigarettes too?
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is so good. Because they're I mean, most of the stuff's pretty well maintained and good, except for like cheese sauce. A lot of that stuff will be like popped open, but crackers usually are. Biscuits are usually still good. Huh. He's ate like the meat and stuff that's been in there, and he's been fine. But yeah, he'll smoke the cigarettes every time. He just, oh, that's so good. Nice.
All right.
He ate the world's oldest piece of chocolate. It was from a Civil War MRE. It was it was the whitest chocolate you ever seen, but he broke it open. It was nice and black on the inside, and he ate it and said it tasted fine. Chocolate doesn't go bad. Mm-hmm. Yeah, go look him up. I don't know what it is. Steve MRE something 1989. Good guy. One of the first conflicts between the sailors and the Zoot Suiters were August 1942 near Chinatown. Well, that's ironic, huh?
Right.
Why are they okay, whatever. The sailors who trained in the Chavez Ravine went to Chinatown on a leave. Sailor and his girlfriend were walking.
You know why they went to Chinatown?
I was going to get some of that pussy.
$5 no holla.
Right. Me so horny. Even though that's like Vietnamese. But a sailor and his girlfriend were walking when 4 Zoot Suiters blocked the sidewalk in front of them. Did they, though?
Oh, damn.
The Zoot Suiters refused to let them pass and pushed the sailor into the street. Did they, though?
I mean, they might have.
The young Zoot Suiter and the sailor stood their ground in silence until finally the sailor backed away. Did he, though? Probably.
I think all that happened.
Look at these Zoot Suiters.
I mean, look at them, yeah.
Look at these guys. They're just causing trouble.
All right.
I'd be wary of them, too, to be honest with you. I'm like, what the hell are these guys? They're like 14 years old dressed like that. Right. The hell?
Zoot Suit fashion found its origins in the urban black scene during the 1940s.
It's actually a look from Harlem.
Right. In Chicago and shit. Or New Orleans, wasn't it?
Harlem.
Harlem?
Literally, Harlem.
Harlem.
Yeah.
The origins came from urban black scene 40s, Harlem.
Mm-hmm.
This style of clothing cultivated a sense of racial pride and significance.
I mean, I don't think this is a racial thing to say, but black people and Mexican people are always the
They dress different.
the
More flashy.
flamboyant, flashy, clothes wearing people.
Right.
Anyway, so
Yep.
they look at Snoop Dogg.
That's fine.
He was just on Joe Rogan.
Was it?
Fantastic interview. Swear to God, they did a 3 hours and 46-minute episode, and he smoked 17 blunts.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's crazy.
Nice. However, the fashion statement soon made its way into the wardrobes of young Southern California Mexican Americans, Italians, and Filipinos,
Filipinos too.
who became the quintessential wearers of the Zoot Suit. So the Mexican Americans, Italians, and Filipinos took it over.
Those are the ones.
Nice. The transfer and sharing of the Zoot Suit fashion indicated a growing influence of African American popular culture on the young Mexican, Italian, and Filipino Americans. Additionally, analysis of the Zoot Suit connections with race relations, slang, jazz music, and dance permit an understanding of the politics and social significance of what is trivial in itself, popular culture, and its attendant styles.
Right, so it's pretty much a social thing.
Right. I mean, they gotta.
No different than today. Somebody creates a new trend of clothing. People are wearing jeans that already have pre-cut holes that you look like a bum in. When, you know,
Or like the 80s and early 90s.
pumps.
The Mexican Americans had their little, their khaki pants and their white tank top with the one button
their
on
plaid shirts,
there. Right,
or
and the one button up.
and they wore their little house slippers. Isn't that the stereotypical Mexican look? Not only that, because
I believe
they wear everybody wears that in Boys in the Hood too.
Right. It's true.
So maybe that was just the LA thing. You know?
Right. The LA thing. I get it.
The Zoot Suit was originally a statement about creating a new wave of music and dress, but it also held significant political meaning, did it, though?
All right.
The flamboyant and colorful material indicated a desire to express oneself against the boring and somber slum lifestyle.
Okay.
Don't know why that's political.
Right.
The Zoot Suit provided young African-American and Mexican youth a sense of individualistic identity within their cultures and society as they discovered, quote-unquote, highly charged emotional and symbolic meaning through the movement, music, and dress.
People don't like different.
Why is that political when they're just like, hey, this is our culture?
Because people don't like different. They want you to wear your slacks.
Especially in the 40s and 50s, man.
Your slacks and your blazer and listen to...
what did we look up that one time? T-shirts?
Right.
They were commonly worn as undershirts, but they didn't start getting worn until like the 50s as like regular shirts, and that was by the greaser gangs, I believe.
Right. They didn't want to listen to the jazz or the upbeaty, the Mexican style music. They wanted the old school, whatever it is.
Big swing band shit.
Right. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. Can't force people into what you like.
Right.
Anyhow, the Zoot Suit typically included bright colored fabric, long suit coats that often reached to the knees, wide shoulders, and gathered or tapered pants. Okay. The arm and ankle areas were often much tighter than the rest of the fabric. I get it. It's like a MC Hammer type deal. His
Pretty
shirt
much, right.
or his pants. Oh, well, yeah.
Right.
Much tighter than the rest of the fabric, yeah. Giving the whole look a triangular shape. Often the suit
Right,
was...
so from their elbow down, it was like a triangle almost.
Nice. Often the suit was paired with accessories such as chains and leather-soled shoes, which were typically worn to exaggerate and prove a point of rebellion, standing against the wealth and status that many of these youths were unable to access due to their economic and racial identities. So basically, they're like rebellion. They're like, well, you won't let us get the real stuff. I mean, they are real, right?
Well, not only that, you guys are already looking down on us, so we might as well be different than you if you want us to be different than you. Pretty much.
Right.
Well, the urban Mexican-American youth often called themselves pachucos. The female parallels were called pachucas and wore tight sweaters and relatively full flared skirts, often paired with high hairdos, large earrings, and heavy makeup. Yeah, it sounds like them. Many young Mexican-American women who were not pachucas avoided these clothing styles and hairstyles in order to avoid being seen as troublemakers by white people. Some women even reported that they had heard of pachucas hiding knives in their hair. I mean, those Mexican chicks, you know what they say.
They'll slice and dice. Slice and dice. Wow. Pachucas formed their own gangs, joined the male Pachuco gangs, and carried weapons. This behavior was often said to have been a divergence from the expected feminine beauty and manners of the middle class.
If anybody's ever met a Mexican chick, you know exactly.
Right.
Oh, this is not too far fetched of something they would be doing.
They didn't go far from the Puchacas days.
Yeah.
Often, for parents of Mexican-American females, the Pachucas embodied not only a dissident femininity, but a threatening, distinctly American identity as well. So you can tell that these guys are American, but more Pachucas. Pachuca American? Gonna be all of those?
They embodied like they were feminine at the same time, but
Right.
they had the American identity, which I would assume is brass, not taking shit from nobody. I
Right.
think that's what would be an American identity, right?
Okay. For some young women, the characteristics of the style promoted a sense of social mobility and cultural hybridity that was expressed through increased interracial ethnic relations.
A lot of quote unquotes here.
Right. Bilingualism and Pachuco slang. What's Pachuco slang?
Probably, hey fucker. Look what you did to my dog.
My dog.
Fucked him up for life.
It must be the shoes.
Right. Pachucas and Chicanas were less referred to in the media, partly because they threatened the gender and sexuality norms that existed at the time. Right. Because even though, they'll respect the women.
Right.
That's like Bonnie and Clyde in them. They wouldn't pull or during bootlegging. They wouldn't pull over women and stuff like that.
No.
Because, or they wouldn't search them because it was against moral, ethnic, or whatever the thing,
Right.
Yeah, when acknowledged, they were regarded mainly as secondary members to the male gang members. Many scholars exclude the Pachuca narrative and major events in the Chicano movement.
Okay.
Events like the Sleepy Lagoon incident and the Zoot Suit Riots, which we're about to get into, have been described as a boyish fight over a pretty girl and a brawl involving homeboys. However, records show that many women also participated in these events and had important roles in shaping their outcomes.
Continuing into the end of World War II, Mexican-American women were at the center of much conflict between Anglo-American servicemen and Mexican-American youths. In the weeks before the riots, servicemen reported that Pachucos had been harassing, molesting, raping, and insulting their wives, girlfriends, and relatives. One local LA newspaper included a story of two young women who had been allegedly abducted in downtown and raped in a Zoot Suit orgy.
Zoot Suit orgy. Orgy. Tear the panties off that girl. Well, many of these reports begin building up and was one of the major instigators of the coming riots, as servicemen had declared that they will take matters into their own hands since the LA Police Department didn't want to do anything.
No.
On the contrary, though, Horace R. Caton, a writer for the Pittsburgh Courier, attributed the riots to non-Mexican servicemen who he claimed envied Mexican-American male Zooters and desired the pretty brown creatures with whom they consorted. That's probably more likely.
Right.
However, the press was dominated by the stories which often claimed that loose girls of the L.A. Mexican quarter were responsible for taking advantage of unaware soldiers who had money. That's probably likely, too. They knew these drunken sailors were down to do some things, so they went and seduced them, stole their money, and got out of there. I mean, of course that happened.
There's always been prostitutes, guys.
Right.
Never going to go away, no matter if you're...
Not even prostitutes. There's always been... there's always been those dirty women like that that'll seduce you, getting drunk, and then steal your wallet.
Right.
Or steal your money.
Or kill you. You never know.
Or that, too.
Right. Following the Sleepy Lagoon case, United States service personnel got into violent altercations with young Mexican Americans in zoot suits in San Jose, Oakland, San Diego, Delano, Los Angeles, and smaller cities and towns in California.
How about we just say California?
Right. mid to Southern California.
Right, because Northern California is like woods and stuff. So.
Right. During this period, the immense war buildup attracted tens of thousands of new workers to factories and shipyards in the West Coast, including African Americans from the South in the second wave of the Great Migration.
Second
wave, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
The most serious ethnic conflicts erupted in L.A. L.A. is just always, dude. Always. Two altercations between military personnel and Zoot Suiters catalyzed the larger riots. The first occurred on May 30th, 1943 at around 8 p.m., 4 days before the start of the riots. A dozen sailors, including Seaman Second Class Joe Dacey Coleman, were walking down Main Street in L.A. when they spotted a group of Mexican women on the opposite side. The group, except for Coleman, crossed the street to speak to the women. Coleman continued walking past 2 Zoot Suiters. One of them raised his arms, and the sailor turned and grabbed it.
Oh. Why would he do that?
Stopping him from hitting him, or if that's what he's going to do. He's like,
raise
I don't
his
think I don't think so, Pachuco.
No.
It's just the sailor's white.
Right.
No.
Oh,
no. Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Ray Romano. On the night of June 3rd, night of June 3rd, 1943, about 11 sailors got off a bus and started. This is like a joke.
11 sailors get off a bus. Start walking down Main Street.
June 3rd, night of 1943, about 11 sailors got off a bus and started walking along Main Street in downtown L.A., encountering a group of young Mexicans in zoot suits. They got into an argument. The sailors later told LAPD that they were jumped and beaten by this gang, while the Zoot Suiters claimed the altercation was started by the sailors themselves.
It's all about the he said, she said bullshit.
Right. The LAPD responded to the incident, including many off-duty officers who identified as the Vengeance Squad.
Jeez. What are they getting vengeance on?
Right. The officers went to the scene seeking to clean up Main Street from what they viewed as a loathsome influence of Pachuco gangs. So they're like, so instantly they didn't even care.
This whole story so far has been focused on getting rid of Mexicans.
Right. And they didn't even care what their stories were.
Right.
They're like,
just like, well,
no, man, these guys start talking crap to us. They're like, nah,
I don't think so.
They're sailors.
Right. They wouldn't do that.
Come on.
The next day, 200 sailors
Oh, no.
got a convoy of about 20 taxis and headed for East L.A. Oh, no.
Oh,
the center of a Mexican-American settlement, which still is. The sailors spotted a group of young Zoot Suiters and assaulted them with clubs. They stripped the boys of the Zoot Suits and burned the tattered clothes in a pile. They attacked and stripped everyone they came across who were wearing Zoot Suits. Media coverage of the incidents then started to spread, inducing more people to join in on the mayhem.
Man.
Oh, we know what's coming next now.
Just ripping clothes off people out in the streets and burning them.
Burning them.
Wow. During the next few days, thousands of
And these are people in the military.
Right. Wow. And I'm sure a lot of citizens as well are joining in.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
Oh, geez. During the next few days, thousands of servicemen and residents, there you go, joined the attacks, marching abreast down streets. Anyway, marching down streets, entering bars and
Say it with your chest.
entering bars and movie houses, and assaulting any young Mexican-American males they encountered. Dang, not even in zoot suits anymore.
They're just like, yeah, this dude's got
They don't got zoot suits on. Oh, well.
This dude's got a dirt stash and slick back hair. Punch him.
Look for the guys with sombreros and and ponchos.
What are the things?
Ponchos, I think, right?
Is it called a poncho?
I think so.
Isn't that for rain?
I don't know. That's so racist.
Were they ponchos? I think they
think
were, right? They had to be.
Yeah, anyways, they're not even looking for Zoot Suiters anymore. They're just looking for Mexican Americans.
Nobody's white.
Males.
Right.
In one incident, sailors dragged 2 Zoot Suiters on stage. Hey, they found a couple Zoot Suiters. As a film was being screened, stripped them in front of the audience, and then urinated on their suits.
Dude.
Well, it's not too bad. Just pee on the suits. That's fine.
Jeez.
Although police,
It's not too bad.
although police accompanied the rioters, they had orders to not arrest any.
Oh, what does that sound like?
Oh my!
Except for the roles are reversed.
Right, and some of the police joined in the rioting.
What does that sound like?
Oh no! After several days, more than 150 people had been injured, and the police had arrested more than 500 Mexican American civilians on charges ranging from rioting to vagrancy.
That vagrancy charge, man.
Yep, that'll get you every time.
A witness to the attacks, journalist Carrie McWilliams, wrote, marching through the streets of downtown LA, a mob of several thousand soldiers, sailors, and civilians proceeded to beat up every Zoot Suiter they could find.
Wow.
Pushing its way into the important motion picture theaters, the mob ordered the management to turn on the house lights and then ran up and down the aisles, dragging Mexicans out of their seats. Streetcars were halted while Mexicans and some Filipinos and Negroes were jerked from their seats, pushed into the streets, and beaten with a sadistic frenzy.
Wow.
Dude, that is just...
This is an all-out just attack.
Man.
That's crazy. I don't like
Seems to me...
I don't like that.
I haven't, right. I haven't heard of any big groups of Zoot Suiters tearing white people out of anything and beating them up far.
Seems like they're well overnumbered.
Well, yeah, there's thousands of sailors and civilians, they say.
But we don't know.
No, don't you take the other side. There's no other side.
Not taking the other side, but you don't know how destructive these Zoot Suiters were, though. There's really no stories. They could have been.
The only stories are
bastards running around.
The only stories are clearly the biased LA Times and all these stupid newspapers that are still.
Because if they were really doing major stuff, there'd be even more. Yeah, I get it.
They're still.
They didn't like that. There's groups of Mexicans walking around.
Right.
They didn't like that.
Expressing their own free will.
Right.
How dare they? How dare they be their own people? That same newspaper, 80 years later, is still mass printing fake news and bullshit. It's just crazy. But it's flipped now. It's like it went from it's crazy stuff. The local press lauded the attacks, describing them as having a cleansing effect to rid the Los Angeles of miscreants and hoodlums. I
mean, let's say these guys were some like maniacs or whatever, Zoot Suiters and all that.
This press just labeled this a cleansing effect.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
While World War II was happening and millions of Jews are getting cleansed by Hitler and the Nazis.
And we're imprisoning Japanese.
Right.
And it's okay for us just to walk down the street by the hundreds
and pull these people out of
movie
theaters and rail cars. And
the U.S. freaking armed forces are doing this. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. As the riots progressed, the media reported the arrest of Amelia Venegas, a female Zoot Suiter charged with carrying a brass knuckle duster. A knuckle duster, huh?
Nice.
With the revelation of female Pachucas' involvement in the riots led to frequent coverage of activities of female Pachuca gangs. The media suppressed any mention of the white mobs that were also involved. Of course.
Well, they're not going to say anything about Italian.
This is literally mirror image of what was happening last summer.
Right.
Mirror image, dude.
Exact same.
It's crazy.
Right. Except for there was no looting of businesses and stuff in this one.
Well, no, that'll come in 1992.
Right. Wow. The LA City Council approved a resolution criminalizing the wearing of Zoot suits.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
How do you criminalize something? It's not a freaking school. Can't wear gang colors.
They can't wear Zoot suits within the city limits of LA with expectation that Mayor Fletcher Bowron would sign into law.
Oh my gosh.
How can you They're basically saying these suits are making these people this way.
Right. They're saying that these people put on these Zoot suits and they like gain special powers or
Jim
something.
Carrey from The Mask.
Smoking.
I mean, come on.
Like, as soon as they put on that Zoot suit, now they're like
Batman. Bruce Wayne and turns into Batman.
they're like, let's go commit some crime.
Pablo turns into no. And once he puts a Zoot suit on, he turns into El Pablo.
Doesn't Joker wear a Zoot suit? Kind of.
I think it's kind of like a Zoot suit, isn't it?
Right. It's like the striped fucking thing.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
That's stupid, dude.
Councilman Norris Nelson had stated the Zoot suit has become a badge of hoodlumism. I just don't get it. I mean, whatever.
But yet, wearing KKK hoods and having rallies at courthouses all throughout the United States isn't banned.
Or called hoodlumism.
If anything would be hoodlumism, it would be KKK, right?
It'd be hoodlism. Hoodlism.
We don't want none of that hoodlism over here.
Right. No ordinance was approved by the city council or signed into law by the mayor. Wow. But the council encouraged the WPB to take steps.
we won't officially put it on the books, but you guys know what to do. You guys
like
know
Biden,
what to do.
Biden saying, "Don't worry about the federal judge stopping the mandate. OSHA, do what I tell you
Biden
to do."
says, "Hey man, shit my pants." What?
I wipe my butt. They wipe my butt.
Pope.
Poop.
Poop.
Pope.
I thought, wait. with the Pope, not the poop.
But the council encouraged
Has anybody done a joke of that caliber yet? Mixed up with Pope with poop?
Pope and poop.
Oh,
yeah,
dude,
a lot of people.
We got to write one.
Yeah. But the council encouraged the WPB to take steps to curb illegal production of men's clothing and violation of WPB limitation orders.
What is illegal production of men's clothing? I don't fucking understand. Sorry, I'm going to say the F word a lot on this one because this is stupid.
They've already done this a few years back.
I know.
And you can't stop bootlegging stuff. I'm sorry.
Curb illegal production of men's clothing in violation. Right. The bootlegging stuff. Like, who
can't
gives
stop-
a crap?
You can't stop bootlegging stuff. I mean, you had that deal in the 20s.
Yeah,
You
see
can't
now,
stop it.
You notice, Jay Edgar ain't getting involved in this. He's like, yeah, I tried that once.
That once.
Didn't work out for me so much.
While the mobs had first targeted only Pachucos, they also attacked African Americans in zoot suits who lived. Why would you, if you're black and you're living over there and they know, hey man, they're attacking Mexicans wearing zoot suits,
Yeah, 'cause they
maybe
figure
I
it's
should not
probably
wear my
only
zoot suit.
They're probably only the Mexicans.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. I'd be a little weary. So they attacked African Americans wearing zoot suits that lived in Central Avenue corridor area in L.A. The Navy and Marine Corps command staffs intervened on the 8th of June.
Hey, it only took 4 days, 5 days.
Right, to reduce the attacks, confining sailors and Marines to barracks. They're like, all right, guys, I mean, you got to let them out and have some fun every once in a while. Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Can't keep them cooped up like animals. This is what happens.
They're ready to go to war. We got to get them ready to send them over there.
Crazy.
Ordering that L.A. be declared off limits to all military personnel. Finally, this was enforced by Navy Shore Patrol personnel. Their official position was that their men were acting in self-defense.
Sure it was.
In all reality, they're like, you guys are on leave. We don't give a hell what you do.
They're probably encouraging it.
Right.
Stupid.
Go clean up
Or
those
when they all came back to the barracks, they were like, "Good job, boys. Good job, boys."
Well, yeah, they probably say, hey, this is your time to get ready for
Right.
war. Or
Stupid.
Whatever, something like that.
As the riots subsided, the most urgent concern of officials was relations with Mexico, as the economy of Southern California relied on the importation of cheap Mexican labor to assist in the harvesting of California crops. After the Mexican embassy lodged a formal protest with the State Department, Governor Earl Warren of California ordered the creation of the McGuckin Committee, headed by L.A. Bishop Joseph McGuckin,
Okay.
to investigate and determine the cause of the riots. We know what the cause is. In 1943, the committee issued its report. It determined racism to be a central cause of the riots. Really?
Really?
Further stating that it was an aggravating practice of the media to link the phrase zoot suit with the report of a crime.
Hey,
There you go.
there
Somebody's
go,
got
guys.
some sense here. The governor appointed the Peace Officers Committee on Civil Disturbances, chaired by Robert W. Kennedy, president of the National Lawyers Guild. Jeez, they have their own guild. We represent the National Lawyers Guild. To make recommendations to the police.
Okay.
Human relations committees were appointed, and police departments were required to train their officers to treat all citizens equally. Hey, man, I know it's the 40s and we're just now doing this, but come on, let's try to treat
Isn't
people
that like,
equally.
isn't that like the first paragraph of the freaking Constitution?
All men are created equal.
Jeez. At the same
Well, except
time,
for slaves. They were only like a quarter of a person, weren't they?
I think so. At the same time, Mayor Bowron came to his conclusion.
To his own conclusion.
Came to his own
He's like, I don't care what all these other guys say.
Right. He's like, this is what happened. The riots, he said, were caused by Mexican juvenile delinquents and by white Southerners.
Oh, so he took the old good old boy approach, huh?
Hey.
Wow.
Well, the latter came from a region in which both overt legal and socially sanctioned racial discrimination held sway.
I mean, it is true. They did say that a lot of these servicemen were coming over to California from the mid part of the country, where they'd probably never seen a person of color in their lives.
I don't know.
And a lot of them are Confederate states, and not too far from the Civil War, less than 100 years.
The mayor said racial prejudice in my city of L.A. was not a factor. You lie.
Racial prejudice in Los Angeles, he's saying, without these white Southerners coming in. Usually, without these white Southerners here, we have no racial prejudice in Los
that's
Angeles.
also
but a lie, because they were doing
Right.
it before these guys got here. They literally had committees and shit making laws Oh, jeez, dude. This guy's a moron.
Right.
I hope he didn't get reelected.
Yeah,
he probably,
did.
On June 16, 1943, a week after the riots, First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt commented on the riots in her newspaper column. She's writing her own column.
Wow.
The question goes deeper than just suits. It is a racial protest. I've been worried for a long time about the Mexican racial situation. What did you do when the actor guy enlisted you for help?
She's like, nah.
It is a problem with roots going a long way back, and we do not always face these problems as we should.
Clearly.
The LA Times published an editorial the next day expressing outrage. It accused Mrs. Roosevelt of having communist leanings and stirring race. Dude, LA Times is such a fucking trash.
Everybody's a communist.
Everything. Such a trash organization these guys are, dude. Holy
Wow, I
hell.
thought they used the word communist lately now a lot, but
Overused on, I don't even think. LA Times printed the word communist more times than people say it on Twitter nowadays. Jeez. Stupid.
oh wow. 21st of June 1943. The State Un-American Activities Committee under State Senator Jack Tenney arrived in LA with orders to determine whether the present Zoot Suit Riots
Oh, here we go.
were
Here's
sponsored
another
by
common word of the day.
Nazi agencies attempted to spread disunity between the United States and Latin American countries. What? Don't make no sense. For one, the Nazis ain't even going to talk to Mexicans or Mexican Americans or anything like that.
Latin American countries, supposedly.
Well, maybe Argentina, right?
I'm saying, is that Latin American? I don't think so. Argentina's not Latin American.
they white?
I'm pretty sure. That'd be Nazis would very well stick out in a Latin American country,
Right.
that's for sure. If they did indeed flee to, which we know a lot did, but
Yeah, but I don't think Nazis were. No, I just don't see it. Although Tenney claimed he had evidence that the riots were Axis-sponsored, no evidence was ever presented to support the claim. Basically sponsored by
the Axis powers,
Hitler, right?
Axis powers, yeah.
But no evidence, as usual.
As usual.
Japanese propaganda broadcasts accused the United States government of ignoring the brutality of U.S. Marines towards Mexicans.
How's that propaganda? I mean, I guess it is propaganda because they're talking shit about the U.S. and making
Right.
themselves look better, but it's not really propaganda when they're telling the truth, is it?
I would say so.
They
And but
clearly ignore the brutality of the Marines toward the Mexicans. That's
while
an indisputable
imprisoning
fact.
our own people, right? Come on.
That's an indisputable fact.
Right. In late 1944, ignoring the findings of the McGuckin Committee and the anonymous reversal of the convictions by the appeals court in the Sleepy Lagoon case, October 4th, the Tenney Committee announced that the National Lawyers Guild was an effective communist.
Like, what do we do here? We'll just label everybody communist.
No, they even got the word national in their name.
Jeez.
National Lawyers Guild was now communist.
It's an effective communist front.
Right. So these guys were communist
The
pushers.
Tenney Committee was like, McGuckin, well, fuck them.
Fucking. Oh,
Oh,
my.
jeez, dude. This is just blasphemy, this whole fucking episode.
It is.
Later, scholars generally characterize the Zoot Suit Riots as pogrom against the Mexican-American community. Many post-war civil rights activists and authors such as Louis Valdez, Ralph Ellison, and Richard Wright have said they were inspired by the Zoot Suit Riots. Cesar Chavez and Malcolm X were both Zoot Suiters as young men and later became political activists.
Very true.
And that's where we end our episode. The biggest crock of shit episode we've probably ever done.
Yeah. That is an embarrassment for the state of California, the city of
California,
LA,
the LA Times,
the United States Navy,
oh my gosh, the Marines.
the Marines,
Jeez, dude.
Eleanor Roosevelt until later years.
Until the day after the riot stopped.
the
She
day
was
after.
like, all right, now I can say something, even though I was requested for help.
And still got called a communist, so she just done it fucking 2 days ago.
They should have, right. They were not seized to call you a communist. Oh my gosh, dude! Literally, that was literally their defense for everything. Well, they're communists. That's a communist front, and everybody was like, "Oh, that makes sense."
And then when that wasn't right, they're like, "What's the suits? it's the suits." Oh, come on.
Jeez, dude.
Oh, my. I've never seen so much blasphemy in my life.
What a wow! And not one military member was charged with anything, or arrested, or anything, dude.
We started a civil war for less.
You ain't kidding, right? Like, what the hell just happened in California, dude? California has been trash, will always be trash.
Oh my!
Sorry for anybody that's listening in California, but
Right.
you guys are trash.
I mean,
I'm
that's
sorry.
just garbage.
Sorry.
Or mid Southern California. Well, actually, probably all of it.
Man.
Because then you get up to Oregon and Washington, and they're all the same.
Well,
That is some sad news there. That story was just sickening, to tell you the truth.
the whole time. Just to see the evidence that we already know, and then all these committee members and the mayor, and no, I don't care what the investigation found. No.
They just didn't like the fact, like you said, they had their own
Yeah,
identity.
people of different color being themselves.
and they
not
hung out with each other
conforming
because
to-
guess what? We hang
Right.
out with each other because we're not getting picked on or worried about getting into a fight. So we're all just going to hang out with each other in a group.
But it ain't our fault that your women want us, and it ain't our fault that you want our women. Right?
It's true.
Women always the
And we
cause
can
of-
farm better than you.
We can work better than you, right? You see how good I edged that sidewalk right there? Let's see you do that.
Oh, man.
What a crazy episode.
Zoot Suit Riots.
Zoot Suit
That
Riots.
deserves to throw back a bottle of
Should
beer.
throw back a bottle of beer
my.
after that one. You guys want more crazy stuff? We got about 40 episodes probably by now locked up in the archives, dating all the way back to the Wild West, Prohibition, and gangs, and up till now. And we'll probably do next week on thinking about probably stay in California and maybe do. I think it's the Vice Lords or the Mexican Mafia. Both were around the same time, but two totally different gangs.
Right.
Both of them formed in the late 40s, so we'll do one of them, and then we'll get into some gangs for the next few weeks. And, we'll see where that takes us. Other than that, go find us over on Lee and Corey on the Case, where it's kind of a scripted fiction podcast where two private investigators go on crazy private investigation cases, fraud cases, just crazy stuff all around. Just wacky stuff happens, and it's sure to be a laugh. All good stuff over there. That's Lee and Corey on the Case, wherever you get your podcasts. And if
All
you're
voices are done by yours truly.
us truly.
Us truly.
Right? And then if you're a fan of wrestling, which...
And stories are written by us truly.
Right. Fan of wrestling, go check out the Monday Night Warchalon podcast, where we went back to the very first episode of Monday Nitro, and we watch every main event of Raw and Nitro, plus all the pay-per-view main events in between, and we rank them how we are entertained by them, and we'll see who really won the war, and that's the Monday Night Warchalon, wherever you guys get your podcasts.
And if our rankings were top-notch, Eric Bischoff would not be allowed to have 83 weeks.
Right. Eric Bischoff would maybe be like 22 weeks with Eric Bischoff or
I don't
something
even
like
think it
that.
was 22 weeks.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it was like the second week of 83 weeks. WWF won the rankings for us that week. But yeah, that's all over there on the in the podcast atmospheres.
But WCW is winning right now
they are by a large margin.
by a large margin.
We are
just getting into 1998.
we are
gonna be good
approaching.
stuff.
I think we're at the beginning of December where
97.
we've recorded, but what's released.
Oh, well, you guys are
what
way
we've
back at Bad Blood.
released.
Bad Blood, I think, right?
We're approaching, or I think we're 2 weeks out from Survivor Series and the infamous Montreal screw job. So that's where we at. But we've recorded up until December. We're getting into Starcade for us.
All right, we're going to see Bret Hart coming out pretty soon for Dub.
That's all over on the Monday Night Warchalong, wherever you get your podcasts as well. And for Outlaws and Gunslingers, we will be back next week for a brand new, exciting, and probably blasphemous installment. We are the
More
Michiganders.
More race. Oh, no, I guess it would be if it's a Mexican mafia.
Oh, I'm sure there's racism. We're the Mother Michiganders with Bang Dang.